Hi everybody, I'm Amy. I'm obviously showing you some crazy pictures, but by day I'm a Rust engineer, so yeah, you can sit with that for a minute. This is my talk. It's a little bit different, I suppose. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about hobbies and sort of give you a bit of an empowerment as to why, like, actually doing your hobbies actually quite a good way to improve yourself and actually has some benefits for your career as well. So I'm going to talk about a few points, starting off with confidence. I've got some notes here. I'll probably end up going off them, but use them as a little bit of a guide. I've got them all curled up there. So confidence for me has been something that I always thought other people had and I didn't have. And that's kind of been something, a bit of a theme in my life. And I ended up doing a GCSE in drama for some reason to try and combat this. It went horribly. And I thought, well, that's it then. I'm never going to do anything like standing up in front of some people. But yes. But then I realised something in that confidence for me, I'd sort of been pushing myself to do things really, really far out of my comfort zone. Like if you think about that Venn diagram of things in my comfort zone and things outside of my comfort zone, I was going to a different postcode at this point in time, really. But what I realised, if I did something that I actually liked to do, something I thought was quite interesting to me, I could kind of get like kind of the circle of my comfort zone got a little bigger each time. And I really noticed it. And the best thing ever is when I was doing one of these Comic Con days, I'd gone out. I remember one day I just asked a photographer, could you take my picture? And for me, that was a really, really big deal because that was like me being able to be proud of how I was dressed and my costume and making, something I'd made and actually asking, hey, could you take a picture of me? Like, I look great. It felt very like that for me. But yeah, so what happened then? Talking of drama and being on the stage and hating it so much, I, for some reason, decided to do it again. And this is me on a stage, on how many sounds. It's a little bit embarrassing looking back. But one thing I really liked about it was 5 minutes, 5 minutes of my time. And then it was over. Just like this in 5 minutes will be over. But I loved it. I loved every minute of it. But I was back on stage again doing, I said I'd hate that a minute ago. That's crazy, right? And actually, it paid off. I got a second place prize. Some very unconfident girl had somehow found a way to get on stage doing something she liked. And, it's paid off. I'm doing this now. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable. And that's why, I've ended up doing something to push me there. And it's really paid off. So the next thing, what's happened? I've gone back. There we go. Perspective. This is one that has been really coming up for me lately. I've been thinking a lot about this because, I'm at the time in my career where I'm going for a promotion for a senior engineer. I'm doing all these performance reviews. I just can't quite sometimes remember what it is that I've actually achieved. I've got this kind of perception of myself where I'm kind of like, it seems almost like I've flatlined with what I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm improving. And every time I think back, what actually have I done recently? It's like, well, I've got this like blob of stuff and it doesn't really seem to kind of really amount to anything. And when I'm trying to kind of do a performance review and all that nonsense, I think like, oh, I've done nothing. This is rubbish, But I kind of like end up looking back and yeah, all of these are me. I know, the first one is horrifying. But I think about it in a weird way. When I first did this, I thought, oh, yeah, you see the progress. But actually looking back, I really like to not think about it as progress, but more as like little molehills I've had to climb to get to where I am now. They're not really like, I don't want to look back at it and go, oh, that was bad. Because I think that's really a bad frame of mind. Because somebody right now, like you may be working with, is at the end there. And that's really, really good. They're like me, you know, they've put themselves out there. They've got that costume on. It might not be the same as what you are now, but that perspective is really important. And when I'm looking back, maybe at the start of the year, I started a new project and I was kind of over there. And in the end, I was more towards this end. But like, each of those is a step. And that's a really important part of like how I'm growing and all these kind of things. Like, I don't want to go, oh, I'm not gonna mention that first one because it was just rubbish, you know, ugh, horrible, crazy yellow eyes. I want to make sure that I'm kind of keeping that in my mind and going, you know, actually, I'm all right at what I do. This is where I've gone to. You know, I didn't know anything about AWS at the start of the project I did, and you know, then I knew more, and then I knew too much. Anyway, but yeah, so that's kind of it, really. And I also kind of think about it in yeah, like being able to mentor one of your colleagues perhaps and going, oh, they're Ryuk from Death Note right now, you know. I kind of I can put myself in, empathize with them and understand what it is the challenges I face. I've climbed that molehill before, and now I'm climbing mountains. And in a way, you see that and you know that you can actually go further. And yeah, they are a bit horrifying. One, they're quite so large. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, so next, perseverance. Yeah, so this is that's a very moody slide, but this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and it's a lot to do with kind of like a mindset shift that I've had to make in my career and in a lot of things, and it's really about how sometimes I feel so overwhelmed in like what it is I'm trying to do. Sometimes that, you know, you've got a really big project on the go, for example, and it seems like it's never going to come to an end, it's never going to come to a conclusion. And it feels almost like you get stuck sometimes. And I had this particular project, and there's a video of me sped up. I think it was a lot of hours. But I was making this cape and I was feeling really bad about it. It was taking me so long. And I thought, oh, this looks awful. And even in the finished product, it looked awful. I was packing it away to take to the Comic-Con I went to. I was like, oh, awful. And then I saw this photo and I was like, that looks amazing. And I know it sounds like I'm really tooting my own horn there, but I kind of thought how sad that was, that somehow the process had really got into my head there, and the finished result was sort of affected for me. And I was thinking about this a few years ago, maybe 5 now. I was in a TypeScript team, and for some reason my boss just said, now we're going to be a Rust team. And I was like, oh dear. And my mindset was there. It ended up just being a really, really bad mindset I got into. I thought, oh, I hate this, this is the bad idea, this is a bad idea. And by doing that, I just kind of like ended up making it a bad idea. And I just got so overwhelmed. Months kind of went by. I was trying to get my head around why we were doing this, hating it, kind of feeling quite negative about it. And then I just stopped and I said, right, I'm going to try and enjoy this. I'm going to trust the process. And 5 years later, I'm still a Rust engineer. So, you know, it kind of worked. And I find perseverance to be a really important part of like of anything I've been creating. But yeah, hang on, go to my next little piece of paper. And that leads us to our next one, perfectionism. If anybody knows this is Olimar from the game Pikmin. I love Olimar. I love everything about him. He's amazing. He's got a little like massive head thing going on, and I had a bit of a challenge myself this year that I wanted to be Olimar. The problem is, look at that helmet. Like, how's that going to work? I honestly made it work somehow. And I really impressed myself with this because, like, that is an orb. And it's got some cardboard on it. And I was forever and ever trying to think, how on earth am I going to have an orb on my head and it not just keep banging my back of my head until I get some kind of concussion in front of everybody at the Comic-Con I went to? And I was thinking back, years ago, I would have sat thinking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks and not been able to get on with it. And I somehow managed to do it, and this was the result. Look, I got like the thing on my head and everything. A bit of cardboard became a bit of foam, and then, it's not perfect, but it's there, it's working. And I'm going to turn the sound off because that's very disconcerting. But yeah, and it kind of led me to thinking a bit how much I'd grown there as well. And I actually had a thing this week I was working on where I just kind of had the mindset of, right, nothing's going to slow me down. I'm going to get going with this. And like everything, what are we going to call this new service that we're making? I don't care. We're just going to call it something. Everything is in my head, I'm like, it's an MVP, it's an MVP, it's an MVP. It's not the finished piece. And, I'm going to redesign that. It wasn't perfect, but it was done. And I think that was a really important thing for me because, I could have been sat there for months. I could have not got it done, but I did. And there it is. But yeah. And my last point. Oh, that's my nice picture. Forgot I'd included that. Yeah, very happy. I made a little crate, a thing to follow around me. So last one, Diversify. So yeah, I do cosplay. I love it. I love making stuff. It's amazing. But I kind of I'm so interested in everything. And I really kind of bring this back to confidence, really. I've been really trying with this comfort zone, expanding it, feeling kind of comfortable with who I am, feeling more comfortable with not coding every single evening and feeling bad for not coding and feeling like I'm not a coder because I'm not coding all the time. And something somebody said to me the other day was literally, you really use both sides of your brain. And I just really liked that. I thought to me, that sounded amazing. That's exactly where I want to be. And yeah, it's really led me to being drawing, this is my friend Sam, he's amazing. I went to watch him in Berlin doing a talk. It was amazing. Never been on a plane by myself, never been on holiday by myself, but I did it. And, without all this, I won't be where I am and I won't be doing something like this. And, I'm doing a lot of good things with my work, but I definitely think that all of my hobbies have really helped me to be who I am today. And I hope if you've taken anything from this, it's that if you're not feeling confident, don't worry, you can learn it. And also, don't feel guilty about trying out something new or trying out something old. Either way, it's fine. That's everything. This is me. You can follow me if you like or not. I don't mind. I love talking to people about their weird hobbies or good, cool hobbies. No hobbies are weird. They're all cool. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was great. So one question coming straight off the top of my head is, you talked about obviously the progression and you actually had a documentation of how you progressed. Is there similar things through as a tech profession of actually measuring your progress and keeping track in a log?
I think one thing, I was working with a girl a few years ago, a new intern, and my biggest recommendation that I could ever give to a new starter, anybody, get a notebook, a journal, just write everything you do down in it. It's so helpful to even just get it out your brain, get it out, put it down on paper and just have it there. I think even just the action of putting it on paper, even if you don't look back at it, is a really important thing to just have a little week retro, be like, I did this and this week, that was really cool. Or, I could do better on this bit next week. That's honestly like my biggest win in life. Yeah, try figuring that. That works for me at least.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
I guess one of the things about hobbies in general, you don't get paid for them and you're not trying to turn them into a career. How do you feel about doing cosplay just for fun versus coding being a job?
I'm really glad that I don't do cosplay for a job, 100%. I think it really helps that I do get paid for being a programmer, but mostly just because I think it's less pressure in a way because I am not my own manager. But when I'm doing my actual hobbies, that's all me. That's all on me. All I've got nobody going. Oh, you did a good job this week, Amy. So I would hate to do this for a job and be. I think I completely didn't answer the question properly. But yeah, I wouldn't like to do this as a job. I think it would make me feel a bit sad because I would be too much of a perfectionist. Whereas with the deadlines of work, I think having that and having actually I can get this done for this time, etc. That really helps. But it's a little bit symbiotic in that way because then I go, I've got a deadline. It's a Comic-Con, it's kind of, yeah, weird symbiosis between both of them. Yeah.